By far, one of the coolest new cards from the Surging Sparks expansion is the Precious Trolley ACE SPEC. This card allows us to fill our bench entirely of basic Pokemon. This is going to enable a lot of strategies which were previously seen as gimmicky or too difficult to set up to actually be mainstream. Some of the best uses for this card include the Regis, Blissey EX, but also today what we're going to be looking at is Conkeldurr. This has a very appealing 0 energy attack cost that can one-hit KO opponent's Pokemon. The biggest thing holding this archetype back was simply that Timburr has 80 hit points rather than 70, so it was really difficult to get your board into play. But additionally, your Brute Bonnet, your Radiant Sneasler, all these Pokemon have really high hit points, so the Trolley completely unlocks this deck. Let's have a look at the deck list in a bit more detail then. I am playing a very thick 4-2-4 line of Conkeldurr. There are a couple of annoying item lock strategies out there right now, but also I just want to buff my hit points up to 100, which can really help out against Regidrago and Dragapult, which are trying to throw damage counters across our Pokemon. And at the same time, pre-evolving into Gurdurr is so helpful, so you don't need to continuously find candy combinations throughout the game. And let's face it, Conkeldurr is a vulnerable Pokemon, or a glass cannon really, where the Gutsy Swing is going to be able to take up trades with ease, but also you're expecting your opponent to take a prize back into you. The poison powder from the Brute Bonnet is how we're going to poison ourselves in order to attack for 0 energy, and it's also a damage mod in its own right. Not only is it allowing us to poison the opponent, which is one additional damage counter they're having to take during Pokemon checkup, but because we're also poisoning Conkeldurr, the Binding Mochi allows us to push this Gutsy Swing from a base of 250 all the way up to 290. That's 300 damage with the one poison tick, or 320 with the Radiant Hisuian Sneasler. If you really wanted to have that push for additional damage, we could add in the likes of the Grant Supporter or Kieran, which acts as an additional switching out as well as damage mod. But also there's the new Gravity Stadium that we could explore with this archetype if you really feel like you're lacking that damage. It's only really annoying up against Charizard EX, and also Gardevoir EX does have that annoying resistance against us. It doesn't matter that Lugia has resistance because we can get through that anyway with our damage output. But yeah, a couple of the stage 2s are a bit of a headache, so if you do want to have a damage mod, you definitely can incorporate that if you respect the stage 2 decks. And I'm also going to discuss a few other options that I've considered in this deck list towards the end of this video, so definitely stay tuned for that. But as we continue through the deck list, we have a lot of good support Pokemon here. The Rotom V Forest Seal Stone is just a fantastic option for any stage 2 archetype. And again, when we have the Trolley, we can just get Rotom in the mix, end on a +3 cards, whilst also getting multiple Timburr down. Lumineon can cherry pick some crucial support cards for us, which is really nice because we do have some 2-obs here. But we also have the Tatsugiri in here trying to help out. Of course, we're playing Town Store and Arven, so we have a lot of access to that one copy of the rescue board, and we naturally play 3 copies of Switch in the deck as well. So we have a lot of opportunities to attract customers, making sure that we, even under hand disruption, have means of bouncing back into the game. One of the supporters that I low-key really enjoy in the deck is Hassel. I'm currently playing 2 copies. You might go down to 1 because you can only use this card when one of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn, but you do get to look at the top 8 cards of your deck and put 3 of them into your hand. This supporter can be a real problem solver for us, where we're holding on to like half a candy combination and this, that, and the other. We need to rebuild a Conkeldurr, we need a tool here and there, but also we need to establish additional Timburr. So there are situations where Arven doesn't get the job done, or we've spent so many in the opening stages because it's one of our best supporters, that the Hassel is like almost a 5th copy of Arven, but has even more flexibility towards the mid-game once we've filtered out some of our deck. That additional 1 card you're seeing can give you that additional like Night Stretcher to hand or Gurdurr to evolve into, in addition to everything else you're trying to juggle. I'm definitely between like 1 and 2 copies in the list. It could just be an additional Iono, it could be a Roxanne, and it could be a Research. Those are all other supporters I've flirted with. But at the moment I did just want to show off Hassel because I do think it's worth its place in the list. Low-key Shrouded Fable gave this deck big upgrades. The Night Stretcher allows us to chain those stage 2s a little bit easier and just have easy recursion of Brute Bonnet, which is often targeted by the opponents, trying to like out-resource your booster capsules. But also that Binding Mochi pushes the Conkeldurr to be so much more dangerous. And yeah, ultimately, going second now isn't anywhere near as much as an issue as it used to be, where we were tearing our hair out just getting like 1 or 2 Timburr down. Now we have a lot of access to that Trolley, which then gets plenty of the boys out. Not only can we represent damage with Pecharunt, but at the very least we're like insulating our bench by having multiple Timburr, so that when we come up against Dusknoir builds or spread damage decks, we are still going to be able to represent multiple stage 2s throughout the game. So with that said, let's get into some battles. If you're looking for PTCG live codes, make sure you check out the Town Store. You can get a 5% discount on your order using that code OmniPoke. So let's get into our first game. We do get to go first here. Our hand is looking pretty juicy actually. We have Forest Nestball, which can get us Rotom Trolley, which seems really good to just end our turn on a big draw. We also started Tatsugiri, which is really, really good. Let's see what the opponent is going to be playing. Wait, actually, they have a 70 hit point Pokemon. And we have Town Store, so I could also get Rescue Board here. I think we just have game. Yeah, we do just have game here. It's actually still not that likely you can do this. You can see we've had the high roll situation of already having Forest Seal Stone, but this is one of the cool updates that Trolley allows. This was never possible before, but we can get that Pecharunt in the active. It's so much easier for us to get all of our big chonky guys down that it is a little bit easier for us to get to these donk plays. You can see 8 damage counters rain down before the opponent's drawn a card, and that's something that wasn't possible pre-Trolley. It was like a massive wombo combo. So that's one cool thing about this new archetype. Still pretty low odds, but it can come up. Let's get into our second game. I have Trolley again. This is insane. This opening is also really, really good. We started the Pech, but unfortunately something we can't donk. They do have Lumineon V though. It looks like it's Dragapult EX. This is a matchup where we can hit 320, provided we have the bench space open for Radiant Hisuian Sneasler. And they're Ultra Balling away some energy that they've just used with the Vessel. Some gymnastics going on, but they end up just charging up with Rotom here. Let's see what we can do here. We're definitely going to Trolley. Let's get some chaps down. I'm going to get the Tatsu down just as a play for next turn, assuming the opponent probably is going to do something dangerous to us. Our hand really doesn't have much push. It's a real pain that we prized Rotom V. Rotom would be a great hand card to like unlock this hand. Unfortunately, we're just going to have to end like this. I definitely would have gone Rotom V here, but at least I have Nest Ball for Fez next turn if the opponent does pop off. And it looks like they do have Arven, so they're probably going to be coming in and attacking here. Let's see. There's Candy Pulse from the Forest Seal Stone, as you'd expect. And they are going to take the prize, and they're going to put 6 on Brute Bonnet. This is a bit of a weird one, because Booster Capsule does buff this card. I'm surprised it didn't go onto Tatsu there, or like a combination of Timburrs and Tatsus. But, as expected, we actually picked up the Candy, which is pretty good. So now we just... Okay, nice. We do hit Arven, so I can actually get this Tatsu out of the active, and I can swing back into this Dragapult. The only thing is we're not taking a KO because our board is full, and we can't get the Sneasler down. So let's have a think about the other item we want here. The Rescue Board is the most important card to get here. Maybe just Candy, because I'm holding on to Night Stretchers. It probably should be Candy here as the item that I take. Yeah, it is going to be eventually Candy that we do pick up. So yeah, it is going to be a 300 damage swing with the Conkeldurr. It is sometimes great to get that KO, obviously cleanly, that's the ideal situation, but at least we're still ticking away here with Poison, and they don't actually have any backup Mons here, so this may be a headache for them. They may still be going down to Poison next turn. Oh wow, they actually have the Vacuum, so they can KO Conk and Bonnet here if they want to. So maybe that's why they... Oh, they have Boss as well. Oh, and they have Zam. Oh, but they didn't take one off the Conk. They took it off the Bonnet. That's really weird. They kept... Ooh, wow. So they've gone down to a 0-card hand, but they are taking 2 from prizes. It is a very aggressive turn, but they definitely could have taken out the Bonnet at the same time, which is really weird that they didn't do that. The worry is they also got an energy on a Rad Zam, so they can take another prize next turn and go down to 2, which is pretty dangerous. Actually, they could Rad Zam and go down to 1, right? They can pull one off the Conk. If I don't boost a capsule here, we're going to Ultra Ball. We're going to go Gurdurr. Looking back at this, I definitely should be boosting my Bonnet. I put the Sneasler down just for future like KO plays. The only thing I'm thinking about is like not having activations for Conk later, but I feel like I should just be buffing the Bonnet there. It lets him go down to 1, which really isn't great. This is still assuming that their cards are decent from their random prizes, but they do end up getting an energy. Yeah, I definitely should have gone Booster Capsule there. I don't know what I was thinking. Unless I had some prized or something and I was worried about just not having Gutsy Swing activation. But they're going to go down to 1. The only good news is that they don't have much after this at all, to be honest. So, especially if I can weave in Iono here, this could be massive. We get 3 from Fez. I can obviously get back the Bonnet, take the prize. I can also pick up the Fez if I just want to free up board space for myself, because the Fez is never going to be live again. They're down to 1 prize. And we'll just take the Alakazam, because we can't allow it to keep swinging into us. We actually take Iono from prizes, which is something. Let's see. The opponent would have to get like a big Crispin play off if they're going to take that last prize with Dragapult. They're going to stretch back Zam and attach. We knew they had fire in hand already. And they're actually going to go Dreepy here and Instant Charge. Not sure why they didn't just keep the Lumineon in the active, to be honest. But either way, we have to chase Zam because that's a terrifying prospect. And then we're going to Iono. We kind of got bailed out despite my pretty poor play by not healing or by not putting the additional tool on the bonnet. But here we go. We're just an attack away from winning now. We're holding Ultra Ball for Fish, so they have to beat us this turn. From a 2-card hand, let's see what they can do here. Well, they can get a Tatsu for a supporter. If it's Roxanne, we're in big trouble. No, it's just Arven. I don't think an Arven can do enough here. And we get to hold our Ultra Ball for Fish. So I think we do get bailed out a little bit. Yeah, they're just going to Rotom up. And that means we do still come back into this game. Really weird game where they had like a massive tempo turn. And they were able to vacuum the bonnets and like stay ahead. But it wasn't like the ideal board. They didn't have the Dracloak online to like get over the line, really, which is oftentimes the draw engine this deck looks towards. Let's get another game in where we're going to get to go first, and we keep starting this Tatsu. That is busted. This hand is looking pretty decent. We have Nest Ball, Ultra Ball as well. Holding on to Rare Candy. And it's an Iron Hands. Okay. Oh, wow. We pick up Town Store from the top deck, which means now I can Forest Trolley. Yeah, this is going to be a pretty good turn. You can see why we like the little V package in the deck. It's just so good to establish the chaps. I think if this is Miraidon or Lugia, oftentimes it's just a case of getting out our dudes. So pretty happy with that. We can also attract customers, grab an Arven for next turn. That's looking great, and end on an instant charge. The trolley is exactly why this has gone from like meme tier to a real deck, because our setups actually start looking pretty reasonable now. And we see Miraidon, which is great news. This is a really good matchup for us, to be honest. Not just because of weakness. It wouldn't matter anyway. We deal so much damage regardless. But the fact that we are this one prize deck and we have easy upgrade potential and they very rarely play hand disruption, all of that bodes well for us, to be honest. We're going to see an Arven from them. They have Forest available as well. Let's see generator number 1. It does hit a couple lightning. Can they get an amp in here? If they do, they're just walking straight into a gutsy swing, so I'm holding on to Candy Conk Booster. Oh, they have the secret box. Okay. They're going to bounce our Town Store just to try and make it harder for us to do something, but that shouldn't be an issue. I can still just Arven for the rescue board here to move our Tats. And I can actually double Candy Conk here, which is just going to be so good. It just means that we have no headache of chaining our attacks, really, for the remainder of the game, I would imagine. We're going to take a Hassel to hand. We're going to boost our Bonnet. I may as well also just bounce this Area 0 so we can't get tandem unit value. Mochi's just a card I want to Ultra Ball away because our damage output is ridiculous regardless. We can weave in a Gurdurr here as well. So, yeah, we are as set up as we could possibly be here. That's a turn 2 setup for us, by the way. Double stage 2, a stage 1. We've got the Tatsu and the Bonnet ready to go in the back. That's looking pretty good. I don't really see a way that the Miraidon can even come back from this state, to be honest. It would have to be a wild game from here. Things would have to get out of hand pretty quick. Going to see Nest Ball for Fezandipiti EX. They can flip the script. Fleet-footed. Jenny coming in. I suppose one cool thing they can do, yeah, with the Payment of Retreat, they can Arm Press and Poison KOs us, so this Fez isn't live in hand, and Hassel actually isn't either, which is kind of fun, but we don't really need it. We're going to go into the Tatsu. We can just keep thinning here with our Town Store. Honestly, we don't need much. I'm just going to penny up the Rotom, I think, here. I think I'm debating between Bonnet and Penny. I think because my other Bonnet is in the prizes, And I also think my heavy ball's in the prizes. That's probably what I would have Arvened for. I would have gone Arven for second Bonnet and just Capsule it, so I just had 2 down, so the opponent couldn't really disrupt that. I'm going to also end up just benching this Fez, so I am safeguarding myself around hand disruption here, but we're in great shape as we do pull second Bonnet from prizes. But like, what does Miraidon do? They have 5 prize cards to recover here. And I'm KOing everything in sight. Pikachu can't tank because we poison, which is hilarious. So if you respect Pikachu, this can get the job done. It was Countercatcher from the Arven. They're going to bring up the Bonnet. They're going to generate does get a couple. And they're also going to Overvolt Discharge with Magneton. So we go down to 1 prize. Not that that matters. It is going to be a valiant effort with the Miraidon taking a prize here, but I don't even need Tatsu, I don't need Fez, I don't need Town Store, don't need anything here. We just have game in hand in a million ways. So let's just go Bonnet and Booster and take our final KO. Miraidon always going to be one of those good matchups, but I also think you could apply that to, like, Roaring Moon, you could apply that to Raging Bolt. All those matchups are going to feel really, really good for Conkeldurr. I can't stop starting this Tatsugiri. Absolutely disgusting. We also have the Trolley again. Not even needing to Arven it is just so good. When you have Trolley in opening hand, you're just living the life. In this case, we don't prize the Rotom V either, but we do prize the Forest Seal Stone. But we're still going to just end on Attract, which does whiff, but then we can still instant charge, and that also whiffs anything useful, to be fair. Mew EX, what could this be? Could it be another Turbo deck, or is it going to be Drago, perhaps? There's Squawkabilly. I don't think Ceruledge often plays the Mew. See a lot of Ceruledge on the ladder at the moment. There's a Prime Catcher straight away, trying to trap Bonnet, which currently is working, because we somehow didn't draw into any supporter. Hawlucha, so it probably is Drago, I would imagine. Yeah, Jamming Tower means it has to be Drago, right? Yeah, there we go. Squawk and Seize, we see Grass Energy hit the bin. Surprised they didn't switch back into Mew, but oh, looks like they're just going to motivate anyway. Attach the one they discarded, seems reasonable. Okay, so we whiffed from the Tatsu and the Rotom, but we can just top deck the Arven, which is something. Now I can play Switch, and I can Candy KO the Squawk, because I'm holding on to Booster Capsule, and it doesn't matter that Jamming Tower's here. All that matters is that Bonnet has a tool attached. The only thing Jamming Tower stops is the hit point buff right now on the Bonnet. So don't worry your little heads about that. Jamming Tower is annoying for us, no doubt, but you still can activate Toxic Powder, which means we are going to go 2 prizes up here. Taking Forest from prize isn't too bad, because when we eventually bounce this tower, it's going to be a very good option for us. Let's see, boss's orders from the Drago out the gates. Are they just stalling here? They're going to get rid of a Kyurem. Kyurem's actually a really dangerous attacker in this spot. Because they've Jamming Towered, they could KO Timburr Bonnet, and then they have a 2-attack game plan of KOing those 3 and then KOing Rotom plus Tatsu because of the Hawlucha ping. That could be a pretty dastardly way to win in 2 attacks here for them. Looks like they are just trying to stall for a turn and go Hawlucha. So there is an aggressive line we take here where we Iono try and get a Stadium Bounce or just a natural switch. But it would only be 1 prize anyway. So I think this is pretty bad if you play the Iono here. We know they're digging with Mew, so let's just draw our 3 and sit on the big hand. They are able to get the manual attachment on that Drago, and they have the Research, which at least means we get to hold the hand. We know there's Prime Catcher in the discard pile if they want to fit that VSTAR marker. That we know there's Kyurem. I definitely think Kyurem's their best player here. If they go Bonnet, Timburr, it would actually be quite dangerous. They would have a 2-attack win condition. The only thing is, like, I'd be getting a response KO, and I would Iono them down to 2. So it would still be tough for them, as we are seeing the VSTAR power right now, by the way. it would still be tough for them to actually like make any comeback after that. They'd have to then be able to amass everything plus boss the Rotom V, or recover Prime Catcher and do it that way. Eventually they are going to switch out of Hawlucha, and they are going to deal with the Bonnet. Looks like they're moving counters, which means it's Pult. Taking out Tatsu wouldn't be bad here. You take 2 prizes, it's still a long way to win. Oh, they're spreading on multiple Timburr. I don't know how much I like this, because the window closes as soon as I evolve these guys, and my hand is ridiculously large. Yeah, I think you should probably just take out Tatsu there if you're not going to do the Kieran play. The Kieran play lets you win into attacks, which, like, I think you probably have to take the risk at that point, but they don't go down that avenue. Either way, we pick up the Heavy Ball, which means I have the easy access to Bonnet. I can Town Store, finally get rid of this annoying jamming tower, and they've already VSTAR powered, so I know it's not going to come back, which is great, so I can weave in the Rescue Carrier. I'm also going to recover the Brute Bonnet, just in case I need to Ball Search it back, because I'm about to Iono my hand back into the deck as we get Conkeldurr Gurdurr, so I'm way less afraid of any Kieran shenanigans at this point. I pick up a second Mochi. I'm going to take a Hassel to hand. And yeah, we can just have a gutsy swing here for 290. And go down to 2 prize cards. I think they're... like, even if they go the Kieran play, our board is like substantially different, but we'd still be Ionoing to 2, we'd still be taking 2 prizes, and they'd still have to make this Regidrago V into a VSTAR with a bunch of energy, and they'd have to have that all with boss, and that's from a 2-card hand. Even with Mew in play, that's still like so much to ask for, right? So even if everything went perfectly for our opponent there, I think we were still in a massively strong position. Hilarious that line was only open because the flying entry on Tatsu as well, because Hawlucha's coming out of lists all the time at the moment. Going to see the quick flip the script as they've attached to a VSTAR. They've at least started to get that going. What's the best thing they can do here? I still have VSTAR power open, don't forget. They can KO Rotom V. No, they're going to go for the Bonnet again. I think with Forest Hill Stone Dive, they probably have to try and take the Rotom there, right? They are going to research now. Looks like they're whiffing on E-switches. 2 in the bin so far. They have to find their final 2. They're just going to get rid of more research here. There is Radzard. They have already manually attached. This would spend another E-switch. But it looks like they're doing it just to take out the Bonnet and say, hopefully that's annoying for me. But fortunately, we Night Stretchered that Bonnet back pre-Iono. And Town Store's still here, so we can restore the Bonnets with Town Store plus Ultra, and then we can Forest Hill Stone for boss here without needing to attract the customers. So again, we had a really easy way to close the game. And not even needing to risk things like the Tatsu there. We can go back into the Conk, poison the chaps, and get a big gutsy swing in to close out against Regidrago. Some impressive stuff from Conkeldurr. I honestly think this isn't a meme deck. I know we had a few high roll hands there with the Tatsu starts and the trolleys and whatnot, but when you go second, you have a ton of outs to actually make that happen anyway. And to be honest, when you go first, there aren't that many high pressure decks. Even if there are, you're happy just getting like double Timburr down and hoping for the best. It just so happened that we had the crazy trolley high rolls into massive hands, but you can play things slower because you're a single prize deck. You saw our prize buffer against some of these decks were just so massive that we were never going to lose those games. But in situations where your hands are a little bit weaker, you're going to give up a couple extra prizes as you go, but the outcome can often still be the same. As for some other options for the deck list then, at the moment I'm on a 3-and-1 Switch and Penny split, but I have also experimented with a number of Jet Energy in the list. That would ruin the meme that we're playing a 0 energy deck. It can allow you to have switching cards even under item lock, so if Benetti X is going to remain a presence in the format, you may want to incorporate those. Speaking of energy, you could also think about having gift energy in the deck list. Maybe forego Fezandipiti EX altogether. The one thing about that is that your opponent is already incentivized to deal with your bench 2 prize Pokemon and Brute Bonnets, so the gift activation doesn't always proc, and there's so many Lugia archetypes in the format right now anyway that the Temple of Sinnoh can still deny this effect. One card that could really benefit from adding energy into the deck list is actually a Blood Moon Moon Ursaluna EX. Similar to how Clorf has this as a late game finishing card, because we have Binding Mochi, a Blood Moon Ursaluna can get 280 damage, which is really, really dangerous. And it can be specifically really helpful against Regidragos and Dragapults, which can still pick apart our Conkeldurr line. Same can really be said for like Dusknoir builds. If they do just sculpt a way to deal with all of your fighting dudes, you don't really have any attacking comeback, but having a Blood Moon in the list would give you some bounce back, and if you play energy, it makes it all the more useful, because then you can weave it in when your opponent has 2 prize cards remaining. The other thing that I think is really cool that I have seen in Japan is that playing one Pecharunt EX in the deck allows you to have much higher percentage of getting a donk. If you're able to get that trolley off, you can go for Bonnet, Sneasler, Baby Pech, Pech EX, and always have that switching effect to get the Toxic Subjugation in the active position to actually close out a game before the opponent's even done anything. The thing is, getting that trolley isn't that easy. Even with 2 Town Store, 1 Forest Stone, and the 1 trolley, it's still only like 4 outs, and then you also need to like have access to a V in the first place, so it has to come alongside a Ball Switch card already, and you have to not prize any of those pieces, and Pecharunt EX is just like another terrible lead in the deck, so it's something I'm not playing around with. And to be honest with you, I don't use the Pecharunt all that much. It's pretty good into some evolving archetypes to initiate some pressure without threatening your Conkeldurr. But the bench is so specific when you always had to have Sneasler down. Very often I will just end my turn instant charging anyway, as long as it's a matchup where I can just take 2 prizes easily with Conkeldurr turn by turn. Another thing that I have like weaved into the list at times is just Trekking Shoe. I think this is just a very solid card for a deck list like this. At the moment I'm on the very thick Conkeldurr line, but I could definitely see going down to 3 Conkeldurr, cutting that 1 Hassel, maybe even cutting Lumineon as well, and then just having a number of Trekking Shoe in the deck list to just give you additional cycle, especially when you're going first. Because you don't have easy access to that trolley, you very often going first still end up trolleying on turn 2 with that Arven. Having those Trekking Shoes giving you that filtering to get additional Nest Ball or basics in the opening stages could alleviate that pressure and allow you to be a bit greedier on turn 2 of the game when you have gone first. Even though this looks on paper like a really memey deck because you play 0 energy, I actually think its numbers are really good into a number of matchups, so there are going to be metagames where this card is actually a real threat. And the trolley is the card that turns it from like meme tier garbage into actually a consistent archetype, as long as you don't prize the trolley, that is. Let me know your thoughts on the archetype down below. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you tomorrow for another one. Cheers.